Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Hail Yes podcast. I am your host, Hailey Gamba. How is everyone doing today? So I actually lied to you guys in the last episode. I said I was going to record another episode that evening, but my voice just got significantly worse. And as a certified yapper, it was just my duty to actually give myself some voice rest. I was not doing voice rest properly. I was advised by many doctors and by many people to just do voice rest for at least a week, where I'm like talking very minimally. And I wasn't keeping up with it. I would still go out and scream, or I would talk all day, and it was just too much. So unless I was having a dire phone call, or I needed to speak with somebody very briefly, that was the only time I was talking. And now my voice is back. So hello, I am back to being myself again. How wonderful. And I love it. I also did a video last night, and it was such a good video. I posted it, and it was all about decentering men. And I kind of wanted to discuss it further in today's particular episode. And I want to dive a little bit deeper on personal experiences and why I have chosen to redirect my life in this way. And it's coming from such a place of realization, of love, of just compassion for my younger self, and also without shaming other people in the process. I think it's really easy to level up and then shame either past versions of yourself or people that you once liked or once allowed in your circle. Kind of show, hey, look at me, I'm better than this situation. But I have been able to really reflect from a place of understanding and love. And I find that my realizations are really just rooted in experience and in just living life. The best teacher is life. If you really want to learn something and you want to become wiser with people, places, yourself, and just discovering things, living is the answer. So I kind of want to dive into that today. And I also want to talk about the dangers of allowing certain people in your inner life and what it actually does to your aura, what it does to your fate, what it does to how you look, honestly. It really does affect your appearance. And we're going to kind of just dive a little bit deeper with personal stories today. So I hope that you guys love that. And head over to my YouTube channel if you want to watch a more broader discussion on this subject. That was kind of part one. And this is part two. I kind of explained in my first part, which was on YouTube, that when I started my decentering men journey, it was rooted in performance. And I know that sounds kind of okay, well, explain. Well, anytime I would hear a dating coach or somebody who would say that they're specialized in relationships and human psychology and things like that, they would say that to get what you want, you need to detach from it. And I was a control freak my entire life. All of the things that I wanted, I heavily pursued, whether it was my career, even just my glow up journey. Every single thing that I ever desired, I went after. Not only is that my personality, but it has always been the answer to what I want done. And it works every single time. I was never flippant about the things that I wanted. And because of that, that is the reason why I have everything I have. So to be fully transparent, I have been like that with everything, including relationships. And although if I reflect from a place of hindsight, I wasn't ever really chasing people, but I definitely was always molding someone to be the perfect person for me so that I can conquer that thing. Whether it was a relationship that I had that I really wanted to work, or a situationship that I wanted to turn into a relationship, or a person that I just met and me romanticizing and fantasizing about what they could be for me down the line, I always wanted to control a situation to work in my favor because I thought that I had to be the one that decided, that made it happen, and that just created that life for myself. But what that did was it kept me in a perpetual state of chasing a feeling that I was never going to get from the people that I was pursuing it from. And that also kind of ties into my original reason for decentering men. I remember I was losing weight. I felt very sexy. I felt very high value. I felt like, okay, I've conquered success. I've conquered, loving myself. I have, checked a bunch of things off of my list of what I want to do in my life. The last and final thing was to like land a guy. And I didn't want to land it the way that I used to. The way that I used to land guys was I would control a situation and make it work for me. And it always did. All of the guys that I have dated, whether it was like a long-term situation or a short-term one, I manifested that person and like I controlled that dynamic to work in my favor, and it always did. And I was like, wow, I'm so magical. Look at me. My long-term relationship, that was like the guy that I had the biggest crush on in high school. So like I just felt very aligned to pursuing things. But what I realized in just going through life and growing up and having like all of these different discoveries was that the things that I once really wanted in life had changed. And it felt very uncomfortable for me. I remember like thinking to myself like, oh my God, why does being in love not feel the way that it did when I was younger? And I realized that there were other things that meant something to me in my life. Maybe when I was younger, all of the things that I really cared about were like my family, my boyfriend, and my friends, and that was it. But when I got older, there were so many other things that gave me purpose. And I loved the feeling that romantic connection brought me. It made me feel seen. It made me feel resourceful. It made me feel purposeful, and I felt validated. And in those connections, I was able to rest. But what I ended up realizing when I started to find my purpose in other things and go after my passions and dreams was that those particular feelings that I felt in romantic dynamics were being fulfilled in my career, were being fulfilled in my self-love journey. And it was a very uncomfortable realization because then I kind of realized that that particular thing that I was feeling in romantic dynamics was not enough anymore for me to keep the relationship going. Now, of course, I think that a great recipe to having a healthy dynamic with a person is you both kind of serve a purpose in each other's lives. Like something's missing from one person's life and the other person provides it and vice versa. But there also needs to be friendship, and there also needs to be like a healthy level of growth together so that you don't feel like, you're in a place where you're constantly dragging your partner with you into the next step and into the next era, because then it's going to feel like you're pulling more weight than the other person. And that was something that was very apparent to me as I was getting older. Yes, my validating needs were being met, but my major needs changed. I needed safety, security. I needed someone who I could rely on in other instances, and that was not being met. So I found that what was fulfilling to me was going after that myself. Now, I say all of this to say that when you start to pour into yourself and you go after your dreams, your passions, and your purpose, and let's just say it's starting to really show up in your life in an abundant way, like you're seeing the success from it, you're feeling the joy from it, you're realizing, oh my God, this creates an like undeniable peace that I've never experienced before. Like I feel so fulfilled. I feel like my cup is full. You just reflect on relationships a little bit differently. You just do. I was naive last year because I didn't even realize how fulfilled I really was. I guess I kind of knew subconsciously, like I'm like, okay, like I lost the weight, I feel really sexy, I'm successful, all of that, now I need a man. Not realizing that like me wanting something that was still very unfulfilling for me was gonna keep setting me back. So when I started my decentering men journey, it was with the intention to get a better quality guy. And that is not why you should decenter men. Decentering men is not about hating men. It's not about, not ever wanting to get married or not ever wanting to spend your life with someone. It's about focusing on yourself. It's about getting back to your roots and figuring out who you are outside of people. A lot of people don't know who they are when they don't have other people fueling them, when they don't have other people consuming their energy. And whether they are the ones consuming it or it's being consumed from you, you don't know what it's like to genuinely fuel yourself. And that is something that I really wanted to focus on. I spent a lot of my youth constantly burying myself in other people, and it set me back. It just did. And granted, I learned to have a specific work ethic in a lot of my relationships, so I didn't fully fall behind. But the amount of magic that I created when I poured into myself, it couldn't have been done when I was in certain dynamics. So when I decentered men last year, I would meet people who would meet the criteria that I was looking for. I'm like, oh my God, okay, this person is respecting my boundaries. They understand that I want to wait until, we're in a relationship to be intimate. They understand how I speak. They're very educated. They can give me this, that, and the third. I still felt unfulfilled when I was getting those things. And I was so perplexed. I'm like, do I even know myself? What is happening? Why do I feel so unfulfilled doing this? Why is this what I thought I wanted? And then it clicked for me after dating several people, because let me tell you guys something. The first couple years of me being single, I was dating very little. I had one relationship that was very beautiful. I actually really liked this one particular guy. And that was when I was 25. And I enjoyed that person through and through. I felt like we added to each other's lives in a beautiful way. But the relationship ended for very traumatic reasons, unfortunately. And I'm glad it ended as early as it did because it didn't leave me scarred. But after that, I kind of just stuck to myself. I was celibate. I was like purposefully taking myself off the market. I wasn't on the apps. I would not go on dates. I was like very fearful. And last year, after I lost my weight, I really wanted to discover myself because I didn't know what it was like to date in my 20s. And a part of me felt very delayed. There are parts of my life that I'm so ahead of others, right? Like I own my own home. I'm very successful. I take care of a lot of things that still I meet people that are my age who don't have the same responsibilities as me. So in that aspect, I'm very ahead. But when it pertains to going out, meeting people, all of these little things, I was very naive. I did not come in contact in my youth with a bunch of men who were toying with me, who were lying to me. All of the guys that I had dated prior to my long-term relationship and adding my long-term relationship to this pile, they were all people that genuinely wanted to be with me, pursued me, and we dated. Granted, I'm not saying every relationship I've been in was great. I just didn't experience the cesspool of bullshit that women have been experiencing for years because I was not a part of it. I didn't know what it felt like to be sold this ridiculous story just to get into my pants. And I'm not saying that I'm this idiot who doesn't see it coming. You'd be surprised the amount of manipulative tactics people can take to use you. And I'm not blaming anyone, right? At the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for where we show up in life and what we believe and what we see because we are still responsible for the things that we don't know. And when I tell you, I sure as shit had to take responsibility for all the things I didn't know, it really hit me in the face. And you know what? I'm so grateful I went through it because now I understand humans better. I now realize that when people see me and they're vibrating low, they're really hoping that they can take something from me. And it's not as clear. It's not like this person comes into your life and they're nasty and negative and they want to grab something from you. It's never that. It's they want to sleep with you. They want to hang out with you. They want to pick your brain. They want to date you. They want to, ask you personal questions and get to know you better because they're hoping that if they, get the recipe, that they can have the same sauce. And then they get upset when they don't get the sauce because they're not you. And that's what it comes down to. And you have to understand that it's not just women friends who can do this to you. It could be family. It can be men that you date. It can be coworkers. It can be anyone, okay? Men are just as capable of this as women are. I was in a serial dating era pretty much most of 2024. I would say mostly the latter end of 2024. So I would say from April to I'll just say the end of the year. That was when I was like really dating a lot of people. I was going out a lot. I was meeting a lot of people. I would date people for like weeks at a time. So like I would meet one guy and we would see each other, for like several different dates, and then that would end and I would just keep going. And I'm really grateful that I experienced this because it put me into such a different headspace that isn't jaded, isn't angry, but is just awake. I have been awakened from this very naive and honestly very lonely place. Prior to my original decentering men journey, I felt very lonely. I was like, oh my God, like I really want to share my life with someone. I really want to meet my husband. Like that was something that was so important to me. I started my decentering men journey, met a lot of men in the process because you're going to. The more you focus on yourself, the more you pour into yourself, the more attractive you are. So you're going to meet men who are going to love it. I had a guy who was like, this is a little story time, like a little caveat. He was like known in the town that he lived in for being a serial dater. Just so you guys know, I did not know this until after I dated him, so don't clock me, okay? I don't know these people and I don't know these towns, okay? But I found out later on. And let me just be super open and candid with you guys. He courted me beautifully, okay? The one thing I will say that I didn't like about him was he had like an attitude problem, but whatever, like people are people. You're not going to like everyone's personality, but he was very on it when it pertained to taking me out weekly, making sure that he's paying for dinner, doing all the right things. And we were intimate. So we were intimate for, a few months. He was very like on it. Like he would take me out. He like ended up buying me a birthday gift. It was very sweet, whatever. And I have to say, like he courted me like fantastically. He really, really did. And in all of that, what I realized was like, I really wanted to redefine what I was looking for, redefine what something meant to me. And it was really apparent to me that like, holy crap, there's this guy who is like super obsessed with like being a serial dater. And because I am fully removed from the idea of being with him, because again, I was decentering men to attract men, he kind of fell for me. Listen, guys, I'm not saying that he was in love with me. I'm not saying that he wanted to be with me, but he was grappling with it and it was driving him crazy. I could see it in his face. He would say it all the time, like, oh my God, I'm not used to this. This is crazy. And I remember when he had said to me, like on our second or third date, like, I'm not really looking for anything serious. And I remember saying, oh, really? I'm like, so then why did you ask me out? And he was very honest. He was like, I don't want to sleep with a lot of women. So like, I like to take women out and like, create a thing. And then, we can keep seeing each other. And I remember saying to him like, that doesn't work for me. And he was so perplexed. He's like, wait, really? I'm like, no, like that just doesn't work for me. Like, I'm not interested in that. Like, that's not why I'm here. And then after that, he was constantly reconsidering his own boundaries, his own, I guess, ideals. And to be honest with you guys, I spoke with one of my girlfriends about this. And I was saying to her, like, I don't think I'm going to see him again because, he told me he's not looking for anything. And you guys know, like, I am looking for something serious. He's cute. He has his shit together, but like, he's just not in the place in his life where he wants to settle down. And like, I remember thinking like, he was older than me. He was like 30 or 31. And I just couldn't grapple with it. My friend was like, well, Hailey, like, do you see yourself with this person long term? Like, actually, like, sit with yourself and say, do you see yourself with this person? And I'm like, no, not really. And she's like, okay, well then like, enjoy it. And I remember like feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not my thing. But I ended up going for it. And out of all of the guys that I've dated in 2024, he courted me the best. He courted me the best. So I ended up revisiting the idea when he ended up texting me and being like, hey, I, really value what you say. And like, I still want to take you out and see where things go. Like, you definitely have me questioning, things about what I'm feeling. And it ended up being a situation where in the end, I think he really, really, really liked me, but I had to end it. Like, I ended the situation. I didn't think it was healthy for me. And we were just not in the same place. But all in all, I enjoyed the experience for the most part. He was a little crazy, but he was of a few people that I had dated. I mean, I'm not saying that I had an intimate relationship with every guy I went out with. I'm just saying that he was one of the people that I had went out with that helped me redefine what I was looking for. And then I kept meeting people and I kept trying to figure out, okay, what can I take from the last situation and apply it to the new situation and see, like, how can I get closer to my person? When I tell you guys, I felt very unfulfilled in the end. And I know some people will be listening and being like, you didn't give it enough of a try, blah, blah. No, absolutely not. When I sit down with my good friends and even my parents who have found love and it works, they admit that it is pure luck. Of course, they have things that align. Of course, their lives work together. But the happiest people that I know, it's about alignment and luck. It just wasn't my time. And I was constantly chasing a feeling that was going to leave me unfulfilled. When I took a step back and said, what the fuck are you doing? I realized that I was not decentering men. I was just acting a little bit more nonchalant. And how exactly am I benefiting from that? The purest form of contentment is having emotional resilience. Like, you don't need to get passionate and obsessed, but it's to have emotional resilience. But I don't need to be someone who is acting a certain way to get something. Absolutely not. And also, it's not sustainable because it's not who I am. I had to figure out, what am I chasing and why? So I sat with myself and I wrote down what it is that I want. And some of the things that I wrote was safety, abundance, love, connection, alignment, beauty, fun, excitement. I wrote that down and then I asked myself, okay, like, where in your life is this already showing up? And to be honest, it was already showing up in all parts of my life, my career, my family, my friends, how I choose to spend on myself, how I choose to live. It was showing up and I was like, wait, no wonder why I feel so unfulfilled in these connections. My needs are already being met in a different way. I had manifested abundance, alignment, love, connection, and I thought it was going to come in a romantic dynamic, not realizing that it came from so many different places. It came from aligning with better girlfriends. It came from healing parts of myself. It came from getting in a better place with my family. I used to take great pride in always blaming everyone for my problems, but the real reason that I was doing that was because I was refusing accountability. I was not always the best sister. I was not always the best daughter. How can I show up better so that I can enjoy my life more? That's accountability, is realizing that when you show up better for others, it actually makes you feel better. It really does. I started to feel my life become way more harmonious and abundant when I started doing better, when I started treating people better, when I started cutting off things that weren't feeling good for me, okay? Rather than having a friend who I low-key kind of can't stand, cut it off. Why are you friends with people who you can't stand? That's weird. You're trying to connect with people and things that do not belong in your life. That also goes for you chasing a man, you chasing a feeling from a person, okay? The real feeling that you're trying to find is going to be in your purpose. It's going to be within. I'm not saying that everybody has this particular life that they're setting out for that is rich and luxurious. I'm not saying that. That's my own particular dream, but that's not everybody's. Whatever particular goal that you have, if you feel like your aura is off, it's because what you're doing currently is not aligning with what you want, is not aligning with what you desire. You need to be having a different frequency. You need to be actually looking at the picture and saying, where exactly does this fit in the life that I want? It needs to make sense. That's that. So in my new decentering men journey, it's all about purpose. It's all about pouring into what makes me feel good. Trusting my intuition, not chasing, not controlling. I can relinquish the control because what is meant for me will be. And just doing things that spark joy in my life. You want to know something? When you do that, you get skinnier, you get prettier, your skin clears up, you start to love differently, you start to see the beauty in life, you start to make more money. There are just so many benefits to actually going after things that spark joy. When you stop viewing people as a means to an end, or even just a feeling that you need to have, a feeling that you need to chase, you actually build healthier connections. I realized that all of my friendships that I love dearly had a slow burn. It didn't really feel like it at the time, but it was a slow burn. It was not something that I just one day was like, I love you and we're good and we're loyal and we're faithful. No, my friends proved to me after time that they were reciprocal, that they were loving, that they were compassionate, that they were understanding, that they were good listeners, that they were useful to my life. And we as women, being that we're nurturers, I really need you guys to start giving more women a chance, because what we can provide each other is so deep and meaningful. And respectfully to the men listening, they can never provide us. They cannot give us what we give each other and ourselves. Now, of course, if you're around toxic women or unhealed women or childlike women, you're never going to feel that feeling. But aligning with better people who bring you a deeper sense of purpose is going to heal the parts of you that you thought that you needed to find in romantic connection. I'm going to be super honest and candid with you guys. I have redefined what relationships look like for myself. I do believe that some things should be left private. So I'm not going to openly discuss how I date now and how I have sex now. But I will say this, I don't put so much pressure and emphasis on certain things because I do believe that people have to earn their spot in your life, especially if you are vibrating high. You don't just give people a permanent spot, not knowing what they can really give you. And I know that that sounds transactional, but it's because it is. At the end of the day, we are benefiting in some way when we have people in our life, even if it's just having energy. Ask anybody who studies women and studies relationships. They will say that even though men complain about women 24/7, they love consuming our energy. They love it. They love to be in the presence of women because men are in survival mode 24/7. And the comfort and nurturing qualities that we provide men, it's something that they cannot escape wanting. Understand and know your power. Don't let anybody take your radiating aura away from you. You were meant to shine. You were meant to have this beautiful light that was really nurtured and taken care of, whether it's by yourself or with people who help you along the way. I now do what I want, but keep in mind what exactly it's doing to me. If I feel like I come in contact with a person who is low vibrational or has bad spirit, I think twice about whether or not I want to engage with this person. And usually the answer is no. And if I'm getting a neutral vibe from someone and they're great and we click, I'll go on a date with you. If, they're doing the right things and I feel like, we connect in some way, there's a compatibility there, there's a sexual attraction there, I could be intimate with you. Am I putting all my eggs in one basket and saying, you're my husband, you're the love of my life? No. That takes time, that takes investment, that takes me really looking back and saying, how exactly is this going to fit in my life? And do we actually choose each other in the same regard? It's important that we do all of that. And again, it really just comes down to alignment and luck. That is how you find your partner. Therefore, I'm taking the pressure off of that. It will happen for me because I said so. And that's that. What I'm not going to do is let myself be down bad ever again about a person, because what that did was it stole my beauty. Being young, and I do consider being in my 20s still and even 30s, hey, you're still young. And I do believe that you can mismanage your time in those years of your life by pouring into connections that steal your beauty, that steal your aura, that can take a financial situation from you. You could be burdened financially dealing with certain people, and you can be burdened energetically dealing with certain people. And it's so crucial that you are more selective with whom you let into your energetic space, especially if you're ascending. I will be so open with you guys right now. I have been ascending for years, but my ascension was not linear. There have been times where I was knocked down a few notches entertaining bullshit. And it's so crazy because I have the video proof because of the fact that I'm a YouTuber. I can see it where there was a month where I was radiating beautifully. I let somebody, in my life that shouldn't have been there because I was mismanaging my time and my energy, and I looked different. In that month, I gained weight, I had acne, I didn't look as beautiful, I didn't look as bright. There was just something missing. The je ne sais quoi of it all was gone. And that is why it is so important you figure out who is in your circle. This isn't just about romance. It's also about family, friends, people that you have around you, your job. What is bringing you joy in your life? What is bringing you purpose? And what is fueling your passion? I have now been able to see that this journey has always been about myself, and that what I was chasing was a feeling that was never going to be satisfying. I was just not happy. I found what I was chasing, what I wanted. It just wasn't giving me the feeling I thought I wanted to feel. I felt insatiable. It's super distracting when you are leaving your true purpose to chase something that is purposeless in your life, but you think that that is what you really want. And I'm so grateful that I saw all of this because now I move differently. I heal differently. I love differently. I dislike differently. I don't have like this anger that I used to have. Like I used to have like this insufferable behavior that would showcase my anger in a way that was just, it was just terrible to be around. And now I'm like, I can't get there because I am responsible for how I feel. And it's all because of what I do and what I choose to entertain and what I choose to consume and what energies I choose to be a part of. I've taken responsibility for that. And that being said, now that I've been able to see what gives me life and what doesn't, I now feel joy that is completely different than the joy I felt before. Rather than chasing a thing, I am going after the things that were designed for me. And there is nothing that somebody can give me that I can't give myself. It's not possible. I don't think that somebody could give me what I want in the way that I want it because this is my life. It's my decisions. It's my passions. It's my purpose. And one day there will be someone who is aligned enough, who will get it, who will want the same things, who will add to my life in the way that it feels good for me and vice versa. But until then, I'm living and I'm pouring into myself. I made that joke in the video that you don't really want love, you just want money. And it's so true. A lot of you guys have to understand that. And that's not to say that we don't want love. It's just not in the way that we think we do, okay? You will find purpose in other things than just being someone's girlfriend or wife or whatever. And you are your own person and you do matter. So I really wanted to stress the importance of that today and all of the things that I had learned in my dating life, in my decentering men journey, in losing my aura and what that did for my body, my skin, my money. Listen, you're stepping away from making money by sitting around scrolling on his Instagram, seeing who he follows. That is him consuming your energy in some way, whether you like it or not, and you think it's funny or not, it's not funny, okay? You're letting someone dictate how you choose to perform in life. I refuse. If I find myself in a moment where I am vibrating at that frequency, I check myself with absolute quickness. Hailey, what the fuck are you doing? Get your shit together. This person is not worth this energy. And it's not to knock the person, but it's because how pathetic. Why are you letting yourself have an energy that is consuming you, that isn't positive and isn't adding to your life? Okay? Get it together. Be someone who can be audacious with your life and see yourself blossom in a way that you've never seen before. I hope that you got something out of this episode. I hope that me sharing a little bit deeper really resonated with you. And yeah, guys, I probably will talk about this again in a future episode. I don't know. I'm sure I have more to say. I literally just kind of went off of vibes today. I had no notes, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope that this saves someone who has been chasing a feeling that they can't fully grasp and they can't fully get. And it's because you're chasing the wrong thing. Chase yourself and you will catch yourself. You will catch yourself and you will get it done. And you will start living in a way that actually gives you purpose and actually makes you feel good. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening today. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Pioneer.